गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। गनर शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। Today we're going to see some cracks in the Great Wall of China. Look at this cartoon. Xi Jinping is trying to, you know, plug all the holes. And there comes Zhang Yugzhou on the other side, is opening up more holes. And Trump is on top watching the whole story. And he's waiting what to do when. That's the story of China in brief. But today we're going to do something very interesting because I'm going to do it in three parts and I'll put this out in three parts tomorrow. In the first part, we're going to look at the issues related to the 9 PLA generals who have been sacked. In the second part, we'll look at the demography because the demography is going downhill at a fast clip. And third, we'll look at the economy, which is actually going also downhill at snail's pace. But downhill it is going. Make no mistake. Right. So let's get going. At the outset, oh, on my behalf and my wife's behalf, we wish you and your families and your friends a very, very happy Deepavali. And I do hope this festival season brings the best to you and your families. God bless India and God bless the world. Right. The topic of the day and the flavor of the day, PLA, it's having a general failure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. 9 generals acts is not fun. It's not. It's not a joke. But what's more important about those 9 generals is that the guy who the cinemas chap He Widong is dead. He died 3 months back. He was actually taken out from in March. It's only now in typical PLA fashion and or China fashion. They take a guy out, he's put on the ice, he's put on the rack, and after about 6-7 months, things come out. And a lot of things have come out. Throughout the year, right from this thing, we've been talking of a clash between Zhang Yugzhou and Xi Jinping. Is it there? Not there. We don't know. But what we know is 9 generals have been sacked. We also know why they've been sacked, at least superficially. The machinations of what's happening within PLA, what's happening within the CCP is a matter of concern, one way or the other. If the rumor, and largely you see any Chinese YouTube channel, they talk of a clash between Zhang Yugzhou and Xi Jinping. If that is true and all these generals have been sacked, there's a factional war going on between in the PLA at the highest level. It could just spill over to the CCP and the Politburo, in which case it curtains China. But on the other hand, if Zhang Yugzhou and Xi Jinping are not apart, but they're part of the same story, so many generals being sacked is a matter of concern. Whichever way you take it, 9 generals being sacked is not a joke. In our country, even if one guy gets sacked, it's a headline. And if 2 guys get sacked or 3 guys get sacked, it's national news. Arnab Goswami will have a heyday on Republic. So will Rajdeep Sardesai on whichever India Today or wherever. But in China, it's normal. So many guys getting sacked. But we need to understand because it doesn't happen every day. And why is it important today? This happened day before yesterday. Look at this. The fourth plenary session. The fourth plenary session is to start tomorrow. What is this fourth plenary session all about? It's all about the economic agenda, the 5-year plan of China, the 14th of the 15th 5-year plan, right? And this is at a time when China is facing challenges, severe challenges. There's structural adjustments within the internal pressures, external buffeting, tariffs, this, that, everything. Okay, and this plan will, this is a time when Chinese economy is not very good, not in good health. They want to sort out technological innovation, industrial policies, geopolitics, everything. And just then, 9 guys are getting sacked. And these will be confirmed during this plenary session. If they're to be confirmed during the plenary session, then there is, discussion on this. If there's discussion on this, whether it's to be confirmed or not, then the main focus is away from the economics and the other problems. Whichever way it goes, it will create rifts and ripples. That's the point. Why did it happen now? It could have happened after the plenary session. If all was okay, it was only a matter of disciplining 9 military generals. It could have happened after the plenary session. Why it happened before? And it would be discussed during the plenary session. That gives you an indication clearly that there's a rift. Even earlier, Xi Jinping sacked a lot of generals, and I'll show it to you. But it didn't come up before a plenary session of importance. They sacked them after 8-9 months. End of story. Like the chap foreign minister Ken Gang, he was sacked. He's out after about 8-9 months. They removed him, and end of story. No, nothing. No, he sunk without a stone. But this, so there is a problem, and it's going to have wide-ranging effects. On that, I have no doubt. But let's go into a little more detail. You go into any media of China, whether it's South China Morning Post or QC or wherever, it doesn't matter. They've been, the thing today which is coming out is all these chaps were disloyal. They were disloyal to the party and not, they didn't contribute to the unity of CCP. Very interesting. Okay, because must understand these are some of the senior-most generals in the PLA, and this comes on the heels of something else which happened last month. See, most of these generals who are sacked officially or going for the whatever were actually sacked much before. Like He Dong was sacked in March. Mia Hua was sacked in November last year. 1 year later, he's being thrown out, and much hue and cry is being made out of it. But I had discussed this with Rajiv Narayanan, General Rajiv Narayanan, when we discussed the PLA parade, that during that SEO meet. At that time, I had said this parade was not commanded by generals. I quoted this article. Why were China's generals missing during the parade? Normally, during that parade, senior generals would command it. One of the senior-most generals would be the parade commander. It was not so. All these senior generals were taken out. Colonels and lower levels and one junior general was put as a parade commander. At that time itself, one was clear that there's a problem. Of course, we all know that PLA has had a lot of leadership problems from before. So this is just a continuation of a problem which has been festering, and it has come up to head now. Now, the interesting thing in this, again, it raises a lot of questions, is that this first, it was put out in the media through the military channels, through their Ministry of Defense. Now, 9 guys, their names, their appointments, they was being put out, right? Through PLA channels or ministry channels was strange. The state media did not take the lead. In fact, the state media has put it in the second, third page. Xinhua, PLA Daily, and all. Some comments are coming out now. I think today they come out with a thing that it's come out in some manner where the CCP has taken responsibility. Was this whole story an ambush of Xi Jinping? And normally such things, Xi Jinping, if he's done it, he'll take, Xi Jinping has did it. Xi Jinping's name is not being associated with this. That's why I put out this tweet. You can have a look. Xi Jinping's name doesn't figure in this entire tweet. And this military spokesman is the guy who came, gave a talk and all that, and end of story. So, definitely dal mein kuch kala hai. It's not normal. So, the way it has been handled, the way it has been. Okay. And then let's look at the 9 guys, their antecedents who have been knocked off. Again, very, very interesting. One thing is for sure, all these chaps were handpicked guys of Xi Jinping. Personally handpicked. And yet they've been sacked unceremoniously. Hebe Dong, the vice chairman of the CMC, is also a Politburo member. Not a member of the Politburo Standing Committee, but a Politburo member, one of the top in the 24. There are only 2 guys, Politburo members. One was Zhang Yugjia and the second this guy. He's been sacked. In fact, if you go into the details, it's very funny. They say he's had some problem, health problem. He had a kidney problem, so he died. He's dead. And if he had a kidney problem, why was he appointed as a CMC? That means the unfit general, they're more political in nature. Okay. It's not like, US, where that fellow Pete Hegseth came and said, I don't want fat generals or admirals. Here, you got dead admirals and dead generals loafing around. And he was the number 2. And there is no, in the history of PLA, Lin Biao was one member of the CMC, or the vice chairman of the CMC, who was purged by Mao. And in fact, his plane crashed in Mongolia. After that, during Deng Xiaoping's time, during the Tiananmen Square incident, one chap who was a vice premier or something like that, and he was also a member of the Central Military Commission. He was not a general or something, but he was a member of the Central Military Commission. He was sacked or something like that. After that, now, this century, nothing like this has happened. Mia Hua, again, a member of this Central Military Commission. Now, he was in charge of political ideology and personal. So, every guy promoted or demoted or posted in PLA went through him. And he was responsible to Xi Jinping, and he's been sacked. And it's all, all this sacking of Mia Hua, which took place in November. Remember, August, September, there was a third plenary in which Xi Jinping fell ill. Immediately after that, the action started. So it gives rise to the fact that there's dal mein kuch kala hai. So there's a struggle on top is beyond doubt. Now, the thing is whether the struggle is between Zhang Yugjia or Xi Jinping or both of them against someone else. Why I'm saying this is Zhang Yugjia was specially called out of retirement to come as Xi Jinping's number 2 in the Central Military Commission. If he's gone against Xi Jinping, there's something grossly wrong. If he and Xi Jinping are still together and all this is happening, still there's grossly wrong. Whichever way you turn the cookie, there's a problem. Okay. Then there's this chap called He Hong Jun. He is Miao's deputy, and Miao, it is rumored, he was kept twisted. Whatever they did to him, they did to him. He came out with a whole lot of guys who are in the who put their hand in the kettle or in the honey pot. So there's been a witch hunt, which you call it a witch hunt or a normal hunt or whatever it is, investigation. A lot of guys have been sacked, and they say this is not the only one. There are going to be 28 guys more to sack, junior generals. Wang Zubin, executive director of the CMC Joint Operations Command Center, operational, the highest operation theater. I would say the office. He's sacked. Former theater commander of Eastern Theater Command, one theater commander sacked now. Earlier, there was the Southern Theater Commander was sacked 5-6 months back or 8-9 months back. Yu Shanan or something like that, or Wu Yanan. I'm forgetting his name, but he was sacked. The former political commissar of the Army, Navy, both sacked. Former commander Wang Hubin, former commander of PLARF, sacked. Oh, the best part is all PLARF commanders have been sacked from inception. PLARF from earlier Second Artillery Corps, it became PLARF as part of Xi Jinping's reforms. 4 chaps, all 4 sacked. 10 years. So where is your reformation? Where is your new organizations? Last chap who's been sacked, Wang Chuning, former commander of People's Armed Police Force, sacked. No, People's Armed Police Force is an part of the army. It was who Xi Jinping who brought this from being the Home Department to Ministry of Defense. This was again handpicked to go and take over the PAPF for security, all that. Right? So, right. So this again sacked. Now, like this fellow says, sorry to say, but due respect, this looks like a fake narrative. Even Trump couldn't hold this 100%. I don't know what you're talking of. We are talking of PLA generals, and you're talking of tariffs. So I suggest to some of you who are listening to my podcast, no, get your bearings to what I'm talking. Don't waffle with what you have in your mind. Okay, if you don't know, learn. If you don't learn, don't talk. You know what? When people come out like this, they say a fool and his thoughts are soon known and put to paper. So don't if you are not a fool, don't show that you're a fool and prove it. Okay. So see all these guys, 9 guys gone, will be confirmed by in the next 2 days. Okay. There are more sackings en route. You 20, 30, 40, we don't know, but it's there. They're junior guys. There's probably will not go to the plenary. Well, now interesting, the Central Military Commission itself. The 7 guys in the Central Military Commission, the 3 guys who've been sacked are these. This is He Widong. He's no more, incidentally. Mia Hua and Li Shangfu. Li Shangfu was sacked 1 year back, and no replacements. And if it is true that there's a rift between Xi Jinping and Zhang Yuxia, then Zhang Yuxia is running this either with this or there's a halfway split. We don't know. So virtually the brain of PLA, Chinese Armed Forces, is held hostage with each other or whittled down. So what's happening, one doesn't know. You will hear all stray rumors. Chinese YouTubers and people who are writing, um, you know, they talk what they want. They'll quote this fellow, that fellow, yeah, wo, all that. We don't know. I don't know. I mean, I honestly I don't know. Okay. So, but what we know is this: out of 7 guys, 3 chaps sacked for the past 1 year, no replacement. That is so. What's the effect on leadership on PLA? And then this is very interesting. You must see. Yeah, I'll make it big. Here are the guys from Li Shangfu downwards up to Miahua. Heat Bidong is not included in this. And here are the guys. These guys were all sacked up to 2018. This round of sacking starts in 2023. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 6. 13 chaps here, 14 chaps is Heat Bidong. Now, where does this list of sackings come out? It comes out in Kexin, in an economic website. That's the funny part. Not now, it came out 5 months back. And what did they do? In the past 10 years, ever since Xi Jinping has taken over, 14 full generals, 20 lieutenant generals, 50 major generals have fallen from grace. Graft, ye, wo, all that. Till 2018, they were all of graft and weeding out and all that. 2018 to 2023, nothing happened. 2023 is the second tranche. In between, a few odd guys got sacked, nothing much. See, Li Shangfu sacked in 23. Feng He, who was Li's predecessor, he was also stripped and thrown out in June 23. So 23, 24, or now 25, 2 years. The other 50% of the full generals and so this, what Xi Jinping didn't do in the past 10 years, he's done in 1 year or 2 years. Obviously, there's a problem in PLA, and of course, there's a problem in PLA. I've been talking about it many times. Who are these? Again, have a look at it fully with names. I mean, as much as I could track, I've actually, this is not full, the list is more. But Mota, there are 2 ministers of defense, 3 CMC members, vice chairman, 1 vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, deputy director of equipment development, PLA-RF is wholesale sacking, 1 former commander of PLA Air Force, deputy commander of PLA, then Southern Theatre commander, 1 guy, planned guys, about 3, 4 of them, SSF. He reorganized the SSF and sacked the bloody chairman because that chap was trying to become too big. And this is only one list. I don't know more. I mean, it's very difficult to track the names. Every day a chap happens, something happens, you have to track. With a lot of difficulty, I got this together. Just imagine 2 defense ministers sacked. If 2 Rajnath Singhs are sacked in the government, Modi government will fall. Period. Nothing happens in China. Okay. Let me see. Now, if you go over this, every month wise, what all has happened, I've put down. Have a look at it. Generals are sacked, PLA chaps are sacked, droves. Somewhere there's a problem between, and the problem actually manifested in many forms last year. In one case, the Xi Jinping didn't attend the PLA raising day. In another case, he had to call a special meeting. And that special meeting, 2 chaps were not there. He kept them out. In that special meeting of all PLA commanders, he kept the current minister Dong Yun out. Okay. So there are a lot of things. He's banned universities, he's banned firms, aviation firms. It's not just generals. Universities who write reports on various things, think tanks, out. So the story is actually quite broad based, but it's now coming to a head politically. The question is, where does it leave the PLA? We know about Op Sindur failures. There's a leadership failure, there's no doubt about it. Now, just think 26th March 24. I'm quoting a date of last year. There was a DF-17 which was fired in the east coast of Beijing, off Beijing. It was to go into the sea. It went and fell in an apartment block 50 kilometers from Beijing, and that apartment block just disappeared, and about 50 people or 60 people died. Thank you. It's here in this. Today, you try to get this tweet out, it's not available. It's scrubbed. It's scrubbed. The handle itself is not available. This is a fact. Sometime in May, June 24 last year, June last year, there's this nuclear submarine which sank in Wuhan. One day it was there, other day it just went in. I don't think they've brought it out so far. So why did I bring this up? Where does it leave the PLA? Op Sindur, we know we could bypass their air defense systems. Their air defense systems failed. They can do what they want, in terms of information ops and narrative building, that their PL-15 hit our Rafale and the J-10 did well, all that. But the fact is that PL-15 didn't do its job. The fact is that Chinese air defense systems didn't work. That S-300 or HQ-19 didn't work for Pakistanis, poor Pakistanis. They got hammered because of Chinese equipment. Their air defense networks and radars were penetrated. Now, if this is the case of Chinese PLA equipment, how good will it be in war? And there's a huge leadership failure. Operational commanders are being sacked, senior officers are being sacked. What will be the morale of the forces? Let me put it this way. Why do you think veterans are treated well? When we still go and speak to senior officers. And when, I'm telling you out of my own personal experience. When I go to Delhi, people speak to me, people walk up to me. I'm talking of not youngsters, the senior most guys, the chiefs, and even the Raksha Mantri comes and says hello. Or if I make a point, it is acknowledged and discussed. Why? Because the veteran generals and admirals and air marshals are important. Their views are important. Here they are getting sacked by the dozen. If I get sacked tomorrow, it will hit the newspapers. And it will affect the morale of people. Yeah, who's this guy who's been sacked? Or, brought into disrepute. When I say sacked, what can else anyone do to me? So if your leadership, I affect the leadership and morale of people, even when I'm retired. But what will happen if a serving guy is sacked? What happens if 14 serving guys are sacked? And then leadership failure, equipment failure, the rest of the things I don't want to say. So that leaves the entire business of Chinese military where it is. I leave it to you, to your imagination. There's a general failure. About that, let's not have any doubts. I'll now talk about China's demography. It's just falling off a cliff. This picture is from South China Morning Post. You look at old people down below. And young people are trying to push China up a slope, and that number is not enough. This is their own depiction, not my depiction. This is not my cartoon. The earlier one was my cartoon. This is theirs. Again, from a Chinese handle. It's a statement of fact. It says aged population 65 and above reaches 220 million. It is approaching the number of children. The children in China are also around that much. And this is coming from the Ministry of Civil Affairs. By the end of 24, age population above 65 has increased to 220, nearing the number of people under 14 years old. And they came out with this nice little graph. In Chinese, I don't know. But when I saw, I said, yeah, this is the following is the number of children, and this is aged. They are both the same. Out of a total of 1.4 billion, 0.4 billion is this variety, only 1 million is working variety. As a percentage, 40% are dependent on the others. So I ignored it. This came about 10-15 days back. Till I came across this beautiful article in Washington Post. China's demographic crisis means it's going to run out of workers. Okay. And this graphic explains in detail. So I'll get off and I'll keep going through with this. It says in 1990, okay, the median age of China was 23.7 years. Right. The average Chinese woman had 2.51 children, well above the replacement rate of 2.1 needed to keep the population stable. And this is a figure of 100. This is the aged people, working hand, and this is the young people. If you see, hardly any aged people were there in 1990. Now, come 2023, you see that this has increased. This and this are almost the same. This for 100 people. Okay? The demographic picture has changed substantially. The median age is now 39. The average age of a Chinese is 40 years. He's past this prime. Prime is 25, 26. Okay? And women are having one child and only one child. Replacement rate is 2.1. This will never catch up. And its population has peaked at 1.4 billion. And now it is declining. Okay? What will happen in 2050? You see the change. Nearly 50% of Chinese will be either aged or young. The number of young or less, aged is more. Only 50% of Chinese will be working. Now, this is the criticality, this period from 2023 to 2050. China is on an alarming trajectory. The United Nations projects that in 2050, China's population will fall to 1.26 billion. Okay, not very far. And the age distribution will be about 10% will be under 15 years old, about 40% will be over 60. So every able-bodied person will have to take care of one person, either old or young. It will worsen. The whole story will worsen by 2050. But we are not looking that far. I'm not looking at that far. I'm only going to look at it till 2030. And I'll come to that. And by 2100, it will be even worse. Because the population will go down to 633 million. And this is not stoppable. Please understand this. Okay. This is not stoppable. And this is their, yeah. And this is their, fertility rate. Where it is here, it is somewhere here. Now it is going further down, down and down. And there is no way it can be. They've said two children policy, three children policy, four children policy. You can have any bloody policy you want, but people are not prepared to get married. If people are not prepared to get married, even if they are prepared to get married, they're not prepared to have children. And I have no doubt about it, because if you remember, 10 days back, General Murthy came, he went to China, interacted with a lot of people, came back, and he said people are not prepared to marry. They have dating apps. They date, but not marry. Whatever fun they want to have, no children, no marriage. The marriage rate started falling last year. I showed that also last year or beginning of the year. It's now below 6 million marriages in a year. The figures are there in my head. So if people are not getting married, how will they bring children into society? And China is not a society where there are unwed mothers loafing around, and unlike in Western society. And this is all this after. See, this is the time when two-child policy was instituted and three-child policy. Despite that, the fertility rate is going down. There are no incentives for childbirth there. On the other hand, these are the retirement ages. Women retire, say, at 55 years, and their life expectancy is 83. 55 to 83, nearly 30 years. They are on post-retirement, retired people with no work and hardly any pension. And as you keep getting older, you need more help, and there's no help. It's the same thing for men. Men are a little better off because they retire at 60. Now, China has a funny problem. They can, to increase the working hands, they want to increase the retirement age to 65 and 60. 65 for men and 60 for women. But if they do it, they don't have jobs for the younger chaps. Okay. So all this nonsense they're talking of, I'll have robots and I'll manufacture, and yeah, what's up? Yes, there's a limit to it. After that, it will collapse. Their labor force is shrinking like nobody's business. For every elderly person, in 2003, there were 9 workers to help that fellow. 2013, it was 7.6. Today, it is 4.4. 23. Now, it will be 4. By 2030, it will be 3.5. Anyway, by 2050, it will be 1 to 1. They are sitting on a demographic cliff. The working age population in China is between 15 and 64. It's not like us. Okay. That has peaked at the figure of 1.01 billion in 2015. In 2025, that figure has come down to 980 million. They have lost 30 million working hands already. This year, we're talking. By 2030, this figure is going to come down to 940 million. Well, another 40 million they're going to lose. And by 2035, that cliff starts going down. They'll lose another 60 million. But it's working hands. They're just simply not having. If you're losing 5 to 10 million people per year, you can't have an export upon manufacturing economy going. Shrinking, it's just not the number of shrinking people and quantity of the number of people who work. It is also the dependency ratio. These chaps who are shrinking have to support more number of people who are depending on them, old age and young. Think by 2030, they will have 300 million people over 60. That is 20% of the population. No healthcare, no pensions, no social safety net. This is a one way street. It's not changing. So, what is the net effect of this? Net effect of this is what? You think their PLA will be very great? You will have fighters in PLA. Forget it. They'll with this kind of a demography, people will not be willing to join PLA. People won't be prepared to sacrifice their lives. They will men my look. If I were a father in China, I will say, don't go to PLA. Look after me. Who look after me? So this is a problem which will not go away. And I have spoken to you from three different sources. This is a different analysis altogether. And this is a wider analysis of many things. Some part of it I'll repeat when we come to the economics. But there are problems, and there are huge problems. We need to understand this. And they're not running away. And the Chinese, I won't say economy, the nation is falling off a demographic cliff. I keep saying this. At the cost of reputation, people say, yaar, ye theek hai, bewkoof aadmi hai. But mark my words, 2030. Very interestingly, there's another article I read from a financial analyst today. Some figures I've taken from him and quoting to you, who says by 2030 it will be the critical time. The window closes for China in 2030 for whatever it wants to achieve. After that, after that, China is not the master of its own destiny. The demographics will be the master of China's destiny after 2030. Whatever they have to do now. That is why I keep saying this 5 years is a critical period, 2025 to 2030. If we have a problem with China, it will happen in the next 5 years. After that, it won't happen. And I've always said 27, 28, 29 critical. After 2 years, we'll have a criticality with China. Whether it will come through Pakistan or USA or I don't know. We'll see as we go along. Criticality 28, 29, 30. Maybe 31, 32, but my guess is already people are talking of demographics. Just imagine the problem has just started. 3 years back, when I used to speak of demographics, people used to say I'm an idiot. People used to say, yeah, what are you talking? They themselves are saying it's not a problem. Till one day they started saying it's a problem. And this problem, which was supposed to happen in 2030, has already happened. We don't know how many more false figures are in this. And if there are more false figures, the problem is going to get compounded. It's like an express train hurtling at you. In fact, I'm reminded of a story, right, of China, about China, where there's one lady who stayed in China who says China is like a train which is going at top speed. The last bogie is burning, and the wind is behind the train. Because the wind is behind the train, the last bogie which is on fire, the flames are hitting in the front. And to avoid this, the last but one bogie from catching fire, the train has to go faster. It can't stop. So the Chinese train is trying to go faster and faster. But that last bogie is all burning. That's China for you. And that is the Chinese demography, which is falling off a cliff. We'll talk of the Chinese economy now. It's slowly going downhill, steadily going downhill like a snail. The last time I showed this, the Chinese economy was like a snail which was going on level field. Now it is going downhill. See that. See this carefully. Not uphill. And we'll justify it. This is the world economic growth projections which I showed yesterday about India. The same figures, after all, the figures of the world won't change. So I'm showing it here. In the advanced economies, they're all 2%, 2.1%. Highest is USA, which will grow at 2.1% next year. This year, it's only growing at 2%. Spain, which was growing at 3.5%, which will grow at 2.9%, is hurtling downhill to 2% next year. And these are all optimistic figures. Remember, IMF gives you the best figures for the West. And these are the figures for the emerging economies. You look at the Chinese figures. And if you read this complete report, and it's going down 5, 4.8, 4.2, and even worse. If you look at the Chinese figures and the Chinese thing and the data about Chinese in this report, the IMF report which came out of 2025, came out a few days back. There's no data to back this 4.2% or growth of 4.6%. It's quite arbitrary. And IMF is not questioning it, because if IMF questions it and the data gets opened out, a lot of people will lose money. Interesting. Just for the only reference, India is growing at 6.6 this year and it will go to 6.2 next year. But let's see, or go down to 6.2. But it is the highest in all economies, major economies in the world. And this will not stop. Forget, I'm not talking of India, I'm talking of China. There's no comparison. The business confidence, this red line is of China. It's the least of all of US, China, Euro, and the rest of the world. The business confidence is the least. And it has been the least, not now, for the past 3 years. And then people say, yo, everything is hunky dory in China. It is not so. And these are not my figures, damn it, these are IMF figures. You can go to IMF report 2022, 25 and see these figures, you'll get it. We just have to look at the right place, which we don't. Okay? And then there's the consumer confidence. Look at the consumer confidence in China. Look at the consumer confidence in the rest of the world, or Euro or America. America, for whatever it is, has got the best consumer confidence. Still. The Chinese don't spend. If they don't spend, the economy doesn't go up. And they don't, number of people are reducing. How will this economy recover? It's not going to recover. I'm telling you today. And we'll talk of it tomorrow, next year, and next year, and next year. We'll keep talking till I run this YouTube channel. And you'll see this graph going down and down and down. You take it from me, it's not going to go up. Look at the global inflation trends. Every other economy is inflating at about 4 to 6%. This is the band. This is 6%. This is about 2 to 3%. The Chinese economy is deflating, and it has been deflating from here. Look, here it has entered deflation zone. Middle 23. After that, it's gone up, gone down, gone up, gone down, but largely down, or 0%. It's firmly in deflating zone, just like this snail. It's going down. Understand why I do Chinese dissection of China. It's our enemy, yeah. It's number one enemy, hamara. We should know everything. I'm not in comparative thing. Please don't make the mistake. Sir, China is doing that. China has done that. China has done that. Why are we not doing that? Yeah, oh, that we'll talk of another day. I am looking at it as a. I am assessing China. Tomorrow, if we go to war with China, how do we handle China? That is my aim. China, some Chinese chap will come and troll me and say this old fellow doesn't know a sausage. I couldn't get a damn. He can stuff his noodle up his backside. This is the truth of the Chinese economy. But this is International Monetary Fund. We'll see of other things. Now, to match what IMF says, South China Morning Post says deflation still drags. They want to do monetary easing. What is monetary easing? Give money to people. But they don't have money to give. If they could give, they would have done it. They have been barely printing money for the past 10 years for their subsidies. Now, not only subsidies, they have to put money in. They can keep printing. One day that printing press will break. Inflation will catch up and they'll kill themselves. Oh, China, I spoke to you about demography. They're trying to increase the retirement age. But there's another problem. The people who are young don't have jobs. Now, as it is, anyone above 35 doesn't get a job in China. Forget about retirement, ye wo. So they're saying, no, above 35 also, we'll give jobs to people. If they give jobs to people above 35, what about people who are graduates and below 25, they'll not get a job. The number of jobs are only that much and they're shrinking. Now, if you have more robots and artificial intelligence and all that, you'll cut down on jobs, isn't it? It's happening. Those of you who say, sir, they have so many robots. So what if you have robots? So much manufacturing. So what if you have manufacturing? People don't have jobs. How will they buy anything? And AI, don't talk of AI. AI is in a huge bubble. Maybe tomorrow morning I'll talk of it. So there is a huge problem in China. And these are the figures. Their CPI, API, PPI, all these are down below. They're all, see, I don't have to show figures. This is all in Chinese. Anyone who's a Chinese, have a look at it. Because it's put by one of the Chinese brethren. I don't even understand what it is. But one thing I understand, the trend lines are all going down. Graph नीचे जा रहा है भाई. You look at it, CPI over the month, PPI, all that is all down. Consumer price inflation, everything. So the fact is that there is deflation. The price indices are not going up. Their demography is going down. People are not spending. There's no confidence in the business. There's no confidence in the consumers. Okay, what next? Look at this. This is Michael Pettis. What does he say? He says to fight against involution, China is going to simply shift the locus of overinvestment to infrastructure. You don't want, it's very simple. What is involution? Unfair competition, isn't it? Cutting competition. So what will China do? They'll close down factories, and all that. If they close down factories, what will they have to do for the people? They have to employ people in some projects or infrastructure projects. That's the only way to do it. Either you build property which failed, which will never come out. The property bubble is gone. It's not going to come out. No one is going to buy property in China. All the property firms are in debt and they are being dismantled. They can't start again. They have so much property that they don't know what to do with it. No one is buying property in China. That's out. Investment, bridges, all that. What do you think the dam in Tibet is all for? You think it's for electricity? That electricity can't come out from there. You think it's for water? No, it's for generating investment, people to work. So if you want to cut down involution and cut down the number, that involution means cutting down the number of factory jobs. If you cut down the number of factory jobs, you have to increase the infrastructure. There's no other way. And they're doing it. This is not only the road to the dam at Medog, Brahmaputra Dam. We are all in a tizzy. They're also trying to build a Xinjiang Tibet highway. And they're saying this will be the biggest highway, longest highway, more glaciers, yeah, whoa, engineering feat, all that big deal. But the fact is, how many people will use it? From Xinjiang to Tibet, how many people will use it? What will be the return on investment of this huge? When I say ROI, if we all talk of ROI, what will be the ROI on this infrastructure? Zero. So they are investing into infrastructure. I've just given you two. There are more. If I give, if I give you figures of their investment, that you'll just fall off the cliff. This is a very interesting graph which I came across. This is the investment pattern over 100 years, the 1900 to 2025 pattern for the rest of the world. This red line this is Chinese investment. It has just taken off. That's why they have put so much into infrastructure. Investment is what? Infrastructure. They have put so much money into infrastructure, property and all, it is all dead now. There's a correlation between what is everything happening in China. The deflation has a reason. To involution has a reason. To get out of inflation, they have to go to investment. If they go into investment, they'll kick up the GDP this year, but next year it'll be dead because it's a waste of money. See, you have a house. Okay. You are two people, maybe three people. Okay, you will build, for two people, you will build two rooms and be happy and put a drawing room and a bathroom and all that. Two. Okay, you have a 2-bedroom flat, you're happy. Tomorrow you have money, whatever happens. So to increase your GDP, you add one more room. You don't need it, but you add one more room because your GDP goes up by then because it's money. Then you add one more, you will have 10 rooms which you don't need. And you can't get any return on that. Because number of people are missing. If the number of people are reducing, you can't put it on rent also. भैया चाइना का बड़ा सिंपल है, हिंदी में बताता हूं. चाइना है ना एक ट्रेन की तरह है जिसका सबसे पिछला डब्बा जो है ना आग में लगा है, आग लग गया उसमें और ट्रेन चल रहा है. हवा जो है ट्रेन के पीछे पीछे आ रहा है, पीछे के रुख से, क्योंकि हवा का रुख पीछे से है. ये डिब्बा जो है जो आग पकड़ा हुआ है उससे जो फ्लेम्स निकलते हैं वो उससे पहले वाले डब्बे में लग रहे हैं. एक ही तरीका है उससे बचने के लिए क्योंकि ट्रेन और तेज चले तो ट्रेन और तेज चलेगा. और यही कहानी है, चाइना का ट्रेन रुकेगा नहीं पर पिछले डब्बा जो है हर वक्त जलता रहेगा. सेम थिंग हियर. You take anything, it's the same thing. We've all heard of this. The CCP's legitimacy rests entirely on one thing: delivering economic prosperity, not democracy, not rule of law, not individual freedom. Just we make you richer every year. No growth equals no mandate, equals potential collapse. Understand this. If this economy is deflating, the funniest part is the IMF says the economy is deflating. Business confidence is not there. Consumer confidence is not there. I do not understand how this Chinese economy is growing at 4.2%. Question mark. So दाल में कुछ काला है. इंजन का ये ट्रेन गाड़ी का सबसे पिछला डब्बा आग जला है. What is this? What is China doing? Property is dead. Infrastructure is tapped out. Nothing more can be added significantly. Exports are the only growth engine left. They have to export their deflation to maintain to maintain employment. They have no choice. Otherwise, involution and deflation will kill them. What's the problem? The world has to absorb Chinese overcapacity. But the world has said thank you. No thank you. US, that's why I put 100% tariffs on China. As it is, that 100 is a median figure. It could be 100, 150, 170, depending on which side of the bed Trump wakes up. 100% of Chinese EVs are banned in USA. And this was done by Biden, not Trump. EU has instigated anti-subsidy investigations, and they are not allowing dumping of Chinese goods into EU, complete EU. We have been blocking Chinese imports. Others are also saying not this time, यार मेरे को नहीं चाहिए. बाकी तो भिखारी हैं यार, पूरे देश के पास पैसा नहीं है. पाकिस्तान में जाके बेच दो. You know what's happened in Pakistan? Something very funny has happened. First, in Pakistan, they went with CPEC. 35% of CPEC is thermal power plants. Now, these Chinese so great planners, they have built thermal power plants in Pakistan, but they didn't build transmission lines. So the power they produce can only be consumed locally. It can't be transmitted. That's the first problem. There's surplus of power which can't be transmitted. Second, what happened? The same Chinese chap went and sold solar panels in Pakistan. So everyone has bought solar panels. After having bought solar panels, they're using solar panels for their water, house, wherever they wanted, fields, everything, with the pumps from China. They don't want power from the power plants. So the Chinese solar plants or solar panels have killed the Chinese thermal plants. Thank you. After what is going on in Pakistan, who will buy anything in Pakistan? Yeah, Sri Lanka. Or for that matter, I can rattle out Zambia, Kenya, Zambia, Gambia. All these fellows are all in debt with China. How will they consume? And these exports are hitting a wall. They're exporting. You will see maximum cars by China. Yeah, what's the profit? They're hiding their losses. This will make China desperate. That's the problem. I mean, just to highlight, there was a trade fair in Canton last week. What happened there? A lot of Chinese manufacturers are pivoting away from the American market. But in any other market, their profits are being squeezed. And in every other market, there's a credit risk. Okay, you give it to that guy, sell it, that fellow might not pay you, then what happens? Forget profit, you don't get the original also. Many are hoping that Europe will be a lifeline. Right? Demand from emerging markets is giving some relief, that's it. But Europe is not budging. Our US, this one chap has said, our US orders have shifted to Southeast Asia. US market is essentially lost. So we can't afford to lose the European market. Next year's orders look weak, with some clients holding on to 50 to 60% inventory. That means they're taking money, they're taking goods, not paying. And that fellow might not pay also. In which case, what happens to China? It's all on paper. On paper, it is sold, paper, profit made, everything is paper. But actual transaction is not taking place. This is not my quote. This is a quote of the Chinese. This is what a Chinese has said in South China Morning Post. And in that article which I showed you, this article about Canton Fair, this is all about Canton Fair. He says buyers may visit to see new products, but volume will inevitably fall. Dave Wu, home appliance exporter. Dave Wu is not confident that he'll get his money back. Exporters complained that buyers from emerging markets generally offered lower profit margins and longer payment terms. Though they still provided a much needed source of business amid declining US demand. They're still running after USA. And actually, if you look at it from this perspective, Trump has already turned the screw on them. They're in a huge problem. See, that's why I say I pick up all my data from Chinese sources. This is Chinese data. Now, everyone talks of rare earth, rare earth, rare earth, rare earth. Rare earth, they have a 5-year window. In 5 years, people will either get an alternative. Already, people are saying, is there any alternative to rare earths? Can I make magnets without rare earths? It's technology. And people are already, you think all this tamasha which is going on in Myanmar is to help Myanmar? Is sorry, it was to kick China out of Myanmar and rare earths. And where the world's biggest source of dysprosium and terbium is in Myanmar, which China has caught hold of. America is trying to go and finger. So America needs India. India they'll get after us. Don't worry. It's a matter of time. And if that source is denied to China, end of story. China will have to part with technology somewhere or the other. They're forcing it. And they themselves say that China can only fire the big gun of refined metal restriction only once. The moment that is fired, then the people will start looking for alternatives. Or they'll say, we don't need it, thank you, we'll look at something else. Their critical minerals, whether it's gallium, magnesium, tungsten, silicon, rare earth, tellurium, all this is there. They dominate the market, there's no doubt about it. But they're running huge risks by pointing a finger or a barrel at everyone. Okay, there's yet another thing to this. Rare earths, they can put all restrictions and all. They're also not able to impose it. They're not able to impose it. Chinese have a lucrative black market. So rare earths are going out through the black market route. The black market chap is pretty happy making money, so he'll make. So this business of rare earths and critical minerals and all, if everything is normal, China is okay. If it is not normal, it will go through the black market route. People will start looking for alternatives, and then one day China can keep holding on to it, and it'll amount to nothing. Already, people have started thinking this way, and these such things are coming in the Chinese thing. Now, credit growth bond surge. This bond is huge. It's a bloody complete Ponzi scheme in China. Bonds are a complete Ponzi scheme. Look at their debt. The debt is between Chinese government bonds. Okay? This is the red one. That's only little. Local government bonds. This is a bloody complete Ponzi. They'll never be paid back to people. Who's buying bonds? I'll show you a graph. I found a very interesting graph. And LGFV debt. LGFV is local government financial vehicles. That's a fraud of the highest order which China is perpetuating on itself and its people. That's why I keep saying, who is getting rich in China is the top player. Who is getting rich, poor in China is the man on the street. And that is why that instability in China will come. It's a matter of time, but it will happen because the average Chinese is getting poorer. That social security contract is getting frayed. This is a very very interesting graph. I'll explain to you. Look at this. You don't need to see my face in this. Let me show you this fully. Look at this. This is a household money. From household money, it goes into deposits in bank. From the deposits, wherever they put their deposit, the big five banks in turn get that deposit, and part of it goes to other banks. Now, from these, it goes in the form of loans and it goes to SOEs. So all your money is stuck to SOEs, and which are pretty inefficient and completely subsidized. So the subsidy is this money which goes from households into that place. Or from this big five banks, it will go to other banks and then to other banks or intermediate banks and other banks, or then it is channeled to non-banking financial institutions. It is this money only. This money come to this bank, big banks. From big banks, it will go to small banks and NBFCs. And from here, it goes into bonds, either loans or bonds. And where do these go? Into LGFVs, most lethal. There's something called WMP. What is WMP? Wealth making product. Wealth making product is the biggest Ponzi which China makes on its own people. One day, I think I'll have to talk about that. Okay. And then it goes to private enterprises and all. And it's all part of subsidy or never repaid. Losses nahi hota udhar China mein, bhai. Or from the corporate sector, what they make money, it goes into NBFCs, or it goes into private enterprise, sector to private enterprise direct. This is the cycle. And all this I'm getting, the best part is I'm getting all this out of Chinese literature. Microsoft is quitting China next year, as per Nikkei Asia. US treasuries, China is reducing. Where is that money going? God knows. It's probably going into gold. Okay. So all this is where it is. The China story. This is their economics. This is the truth of their economics. (27 to 30) is the danger zone. This is an analysis I found today. Very interesting. He says there are 4 countdowns which are converging. Which are these 4 countdowns? First, the China's demographic cliff. US rare earth independence will start around 27 to 30. US has started putting in place whatever it wants. He says it will take another 5 years for US to start getting independence. If US is in 1 year, it gets 10% independence, that's 10% less control by China. If it's 30% in the next 3 years, that's 30% less. And see the down effect. China loses control. Rare earth gives China control, and China is losing it fast. Xi's succession window. Will he be going in for the 4th term? The next party congress, the 21st party congress, is in 27. So we'll know. By then he'll be around 80. So this man is an old geriatric who will be there beyond that. Or there'll be a new guy and there'll be chaos. That's another danger. So the succession window will generate a problem. 27 to 30. And then Taiwan election also comes into the same play in 28. If they have to move, it's then. Whatever happens in China, whether they want to go to Taiwan, they want to come to India, they want to go big or not, is the next 3 years. After that, thank you. After 2030, their leverage closes. And I have said this many times. This fellow says it expires in 2030, but my belief is till 2032 they have an opening. But after 2032, I don't think we are not going to see China the way it is today. Already, from just think in the past 4 years, from 2019 to now, the way things have changed. Tremendous change in the way China is behaving, and I'm predicting what's going to happen in China. All I can say is you have an economy which is steadily going downhill. It's like the snail. It's going down slowly hill. The hill is down below. Why am I talking all this? This is not a comparison between India and China. Please understand. This is to know what the hell is happening in China. Because China is your long term adversary. China is the one which is going to screw you through Pakistan. China is the one which is going to appear in the Indian Ocean region. You should know how big or problematic China is. And don't fall for this technology and I can do this EV, solar, polar. Sorry, they don't have a good military. They're not going to come and fight. We have to think our development model differently. It is for our development, not to get into a fight with them. And anyway, Pakistan has already ditched them. If you can see this story. So let us see how the whole story pans out. Right? Right. I hope you people have liked this video. It's a long one, 1 hour 17 minutes. I'll split it tomorrow in 3 parts and give it to put it out so that it's in 15-20 minutes thing. If you like this video, do subscribe to Ghana Shot and like the video, and also join me as members. I'll be grateful to all of you. With this, I'll take on a few questions. I'll not take on too many questions. It's too late, and I'm sure you people must be looking forward to spending Deepavali with your near and dear. Right? I will just take about 3-4 questions which are interesting. Okay. Yeah, what are the lessons India should draw from China's demographic collapse and prepare beforehand policy? We should have a policy of ensuring that our, lifestyle pressures don't fall on our children, and then they get married, everything. The state has to produce, and I already see this happening. A few chief ministers have said this, that we should this thing. Right? Produce enough families. So state policies should incentivize second child, third child. Yeah, dear Sunil, dear General, happy Deepavali. Thanks a lot. My grandmother passed away 4 days ago. My condolences. I never forget watching videos on China during that time. Thanks a lot. Thank you for your knowledge. Yeah, please learn. I mean, you can criticize me for what it is. I have no problem. But what I'm saying is facts. Yeah, Satish, thanks a lot. Yeah, do you see the disintegration of China? I don't see that happening, to be very honest. In certain ways, the contraction of the Chinese population will help them also in their economy. After a point of time, their economy will start stabilizing. It will keep going down, but it will be a stable decline. Okay, because their equation between the resources of the land and the people who live on the land will start balancing out. But that I think will happen around 2040. Still, by then, I expect a few political changes also to happen. That's why 2030 is critical. What will happen in the next Congress party Congress is critical. We'll see how it goes. Because the CCP is a funny animal. I can't predict it. Yeah, why is the Indian bureaucracy still stuck with the two-child policy? We should change it. We should have. I mean, it's not there anywhere, but I think we need to say the third child gets an incentive. We should. I think it's time. Yeah, is it time for India to start insisting on rupee payments for critical Chinese export? Yep, we can. We can start. I don't know harm. Okay. Yeah. Then let me see. Amazing planning by Chinese by giving giving both thermal and solar panels to park with no transmission lines. That's a fact. That's how CPC has been planned. And I'm not. You can go into CPC and see the projects. There's no transmission lines. There's no project for transmission lines. This first I came to know when I heard a YouTube conversation between Tahir Gora and Tariq Fateh, late Tariq Fateh. Okay, so very interesting. The amount of foolishness which Pakistan and China have done is not funny. Sir, is China trying to break the myth that it is invincible? They feel they are invincible, but they are highly invincible. Invincible, I'd say. Yeah, all this is Chinese economic brilliance and ease of doing business. We have little reason to complain if our enemy has decided to come in economic hierarchy. Even now, a G2 is not a bailout. Yeah, I agree with you. I do hope Xi Jinping continues. He's our best friend. He'll kill China. I'm very confident of it. I've always said this, I said this 2 years back. Xi Jinping should continue in China and Imran Khan should have continued in Pakistan. One wish is there. I do hope Xi Jinping lives long and he continues in China, he'll ruin it completely. In the case of Pakistan, we've got one better than Imran Khan, Asim Munir. He'll ruin Pakistan. We are okay. Yeah, as you said, CCP's legitimacy rests on delivering economic prosperity. Didn't Mao say that is power flows through the barrel of a gun? That's long back, yeah. That's all gone. It's now something else. Yeah, now look at this idiot. I'd say stop this bullshit with China is dying, China this, China that. You don't understand. People like you don't have the brains. Obviously, you are one track. He's your enemy. You should know what's happening to China. Whether China is dying or not is not the issue. Ultimately, how will all this get converted to hard military power is my problem. You don't seem to understand this. What India should do, I've spoken yesterday only. In 1 hour, you can't say, if I say every day I speak what India should do and not talk of China or Pakistan, none of you fools will come and watch. But how will a great guy like you, with all your brilliance, civilizational brilliance of being an Indian, come and watch me if I tell you you don't know anything about China, you don't want to learn about China, so don't learn, don't join. That's why I said, some of you who comment, no, don't you prove yourselves to be fools by commenting. If you keep quiet, it is wisdom. Yeah, with the leadership in such a lurch, will the military industrial synergy in Chinese firm be affected? Definitely. There's going to be a large scale problem all over. On that, I have no this thing. Yeah. In your sessions, you have mentioned that inaccuracy of Chinese missiles, they go off target. How is it that space program is so advanced and successful? I don't know. I have no answers for it. They don't advertise their failures, but their failures of their missiles is known. Yeah, please view the session between Sir and Lieutenant General Kandare on the point 5 front issue. Yes, and possible solutions. We spoke about SLM seekers, illegal migrants, and all that. Have a look at it 2 days back. In fact, yesterday morning. Right. Okay. I'll not take any more questions at this point of time because I think it's too late and you guys must be going for your Deepavali. Yeah, Chinese ambitions in Afghanistan are being crushed by India as in exports Russian refined in Afghanistan and bring it through Chabahar port. Yes, this is going to be a problem for China doesn't like us in Afghanistan, and Afghans know very clearly how much to accommodate China or not, and they'll accommodate them only that much. On that also, I don't have a doubt. Okay. Yeah, legacy products inventory is huge and stuff no one uses. I agree with you on that also. There is a problem in China we need to understand and we need to leverage it to our benefit when we deal with them. That is why I keep coming back on these such analysis, right? So that is all I have to tell today, and thanks a lot for joining in. I've enjoyed talking. I'm not taking too many questions because it's too late. That's as simple as that. With this, once again, a happy Deepavali to all of you. Have a great time. Take care of yourself, take care of your families, and wish you a very happy year ahead. Jai Hind and good night to all of you.